Okay, we're going to go with Chuck in Hawaii. Says that matter and space and stars and the earth are all eternal, and something must have caused that. Chuck is going to be the super fast call, but I want to give you the time that you deserve. How are you doing today?
Okay. Thanks for talking to me. It's kind of neat to talk to a scientist, actually. That's willing to discuss these things. That's kind of weird. Do you really?
It is strange.
As a scientist, do you believe that oxygen is eternal?
Oxygen?
Yeah.
No.
You breathe it in.
It's just it
isn't used up.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't decay away.
But it can. So, like, there's the thing. So when we look at the periodic table of elements, like there's 118 elements out there. The only difference between any one kind of element and any other kind of element is the number of protons that it has. So oxygen is just what we call an atom that has 8 protons. That's it. If it has 8 protons, it's oxygen. It's going to behave like oxygen. So that has to come from somewhere. It can break down depending on the number of neutrons it has. It can be unstable and break down faster. So yeah, it's not eternal. It definitely cycles. So there are things called biogeochemical cycles where like different elements, different chemicals cycle through our planet over and over. Like you said, we breathe it in, gets used in something else. We breathe it out, it gets used in something else, blah, blah, blah. It's still there, but like, it's not eternal by any means. It's going to last a long time, but it's not eternal.
So do you think that not eternal? It goes over and over and over and over, and it doesn't wear out, and it's not used up. And if it is used up, then there's going to have to be some place on the planet that's producing more oxygen, but there isn't. So
when you say eternal, that means to me that it has no beginning and no end. It just is always.
No.
We know that's
No.
So what do you mean by eternal?
I mean that it goes on and on and on. I can say that.
Wait, hold on. How is that different than what he? How is that different? How is that? I gotta clean this up. How is that different than what Forrest said? If you just said goes on and on and on, we're assuming that those ons keep going on forever, and there wasn't like a beginning to the ons. They're just eternal, right?
No, I didn't say there doesn't have a beginning. It's here.
How? Okay, how are you defining eternal so that we don't talk past each other?
That it doesn't wear out. That it isn't used up, that it keeps on working over and over and over and over.
Okay, so then here's the question then. So you understand that oxygen does come from somewhere, right?
No.
Like there wasn't oxygen just in the beginning of the universe.
Yes.
Right, okay, cool.
It's not created in the stars.
Yeah,
right.
Stellar nucleosynthesis, my favorite word of all time. If I can have any chance to say the word stellar nucleosynthesis and act smart, I'm gonna do it.
It's a great word.
It's an awesome word.
So yes, oxygen cycles through the biosphere for sure. We breathe it in and we convert it into carbon dioxide, and we breathe it out, and it gets used in plants to be converted back into free floating oxygen. And we can talk about that whole system. It gets used in all sorts of other stuff. It gets bonded with all sorts. It's super electronegative, so it makes all sorts of different minerals and all sorts of cool things. But that doesn't mean that it lasts forever. Just because it cycles like this doesn't mean that it cycles forever. If we weren't here breathing it and using it, it would be fixed in place. And indeed, that's how it was earlier on in Earth's history. Oxygen used to be fixed into carbon dioxide and whatnot. It wasn't until the evolution of photosynthesis that we started getting free oxygen that then became something that was used. So like it is cycling, but that doesn't mean anything in terms of like eternity or God or anything like that.
It's not cycling. When you breathe that oxygen atom out, it's attached to 2 carbon atoms.
Isn't that the word
They're not
used?
Connected by anything. What?
Isn't that the word you used?
No, it comes. Wait, I didn't understand you.
I was asking, wasn't that the word you used? Cycle? I could be wrong. I just thought that was the word you used.
No, I didn't say cycle. It's not cycling.
Okay.
When you breathe it in, it's free oxygen. When you breathe it out, it's attached to 2 carbon atoms. And then it goes into a plant, and the plant keeps the carbon and exhales the oxygen. It's a free atom.
So just point of interest, just for any, like, It's two oxygens attached to one carbon, not the other way around. That's not important. I'm not trying to like, that's the whole argument. Just point of interest. It bothered me. But yeah, no, for sure. It like we breathe in oxygen and we make carbon dioxide, and then plants breathe in carbon dioxide and make oxygen. That's what we talk about when we say a cycle. It goes around and around in what we call the biogeochemical cycle. What does that have to do with anything? The fact that it's traded back and forth, that's something that evolved like a little while ago. That's 1.5 million years of history here, or a billion, pardon me, not a million, 1.5 billion years of history here on that. Not that crazy of a thing.
Well, I'm saying that all of matter is like that. It keeps on working over and over. It doesn't decay away. It isn't used up. There's no place producing more matter. And even if science says that it's being produced in the stars, how the heck is it going to get from the stars to the Earth? You got to have
supernovae. So
everything
so
after
the whole thing,
iron, right? Something like that.
Yeah. So like we have a history of that. After the Big Bang, we can go through stellar evolution and talk about the formation of heavier and heavier elements. Stars explode. Some do. They blow up in supernovas, and they create these nebulae that have this what we have this planetary nebula, this place that we can form new stars and new planets out of these old star guts that were spread out throughout the cosmos. We have all that. Like
which
you don't
which
need
we
to
can
like
go see. Like we can. Of course, you tell me you know more about science stuff. Is it not the case that we have evidence for protoplanetary disks now?
Yeah.
So
like you can't watch the whole process because it takes a long ass time, but like seeing it at snapshots here and there, we can totally do that. And so like that's the thing, man, is like, yeah, we know where these things come from. There's no shuttle bus taking oxygen out of an old star and bringing it to Earth so that we have it what we need it. And just because atoms tend to, that's the whole point of when you're doing stoichiometry is you can't make new atoms and break new atoms unless you're doing fission and fusion, whatever. But like that's the whole thing is like you're just rearranging atoms and doing chemistry. None of this is like anything magical. It just says that this is the laws of chemistry.
You don't think that's unreasonable that something can work over and over and over and over and over again?
Why would that be the case? So why would it be the case, possibly, that oxygen would be used up, so to speak? How would that make any sense?
That's right. That's what I'm saying. It isn't used up. That science says it is. Everything is decaying.
Right, but oxygen, like all atoms will eventually decay, and we see atoms decaying now. That's the whole point of like, when we do radiometric dating, that's because atoms decayed into other atoms. They broke down into smaller pieces. So like, yeah, they can decay.
That's not true. No,
atoms can't break down.
That's not true.
All right,
no.
What isn't true?
Look, can you cut an atom in half? Like
you can break a piece off of it. Yes.
No, you can't. It's a little marble, and it's not made up of anything. It's the thing that makes up everything else, and you can't.
You don't think that atoms have any constituent parts?
Yeah, I was about to ask about
electrons. There's no such thing as little parts of an atom. That's not the whole electron theory is baloney. And any science.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
Really quick, I just want to ask. Yeah, no, I wanted to see how far we were going to go.
Oh, man.
Like, here's a question for you. Rutherford's gold foil experiment. How does that make sense if we don't have individual parts of an atom?
I don't know what that experiment is.
It's one of the things that prove that atoms have parts. So here's how this worked. Is this is actually one of the proofs that atoms are mostly empty space, that it's a small nucleus with a cloud of electrons around it and a lot of nothing in the middle. Is Rutherford took a tiny sheet of gold foil, like about 1 or 2 atoms thick, like unbelievably thin, and he shot alpha particles at it. Alpha particles are the nuclei of helium atoms, 2 protons and 2 neutrons. You'll just think of them as very small atoms. It doesn't really matter. He shot these little particles at it and found that the vast majority of them went straight through. So you have this solid sheet of gold, and most of the particles being fired at it go straight through it and don't hit anything along the way. How would that make sense if atoms are solid objects?
You can move your hand through the air too. You just right through.
Yeah, but the air is different atoms with space in between them. It's not a solid object.
It has space in between them, right? That's why you can move your hand through it. That's why an airplane can fly through the air, because it moves and it has space in between it. But a solid object like the atom itself, you can't move it apart. You can't cut it in half. It's made.
Right. So how did these particles go through the gold foil if the gold foil is a solid object that can't be parsed in half?
Oh, maybe he's lying. Maybe it didn't. Is he English? The problem with science is that you guys.
So the vast, all of the rest of chemistry hinges on that.
What the fuck kind of response was? Is he English? What? Help me. What the fuck was that?
You don't trust the British.
My dad's English. I take offense to this.
Because the English are dumbasses, and they write up all this crap about science. You dumbass Americans, you believe it.
Okay, so
are you not?
Do you hear yourself right now? You're generalizing all God. English people as if they have like some vendetta. What? I can't even take you seriously.
What is that?
I'm gonna try to do at least to get to the end of this and ignore the really dumb fucking thing you just said.
Yeah, that was wild.
We're gonna try to ignore that. You presumably you want a cause, right? That's like the whole like shebang is there's a cause and then blah blah blah. Am I right or am I wrong? Because you're saying something causes that. At least with the call screen.
Causes what?
That's what you said in the call screen.
Yeah, the call screen says
matter in space is eternal. Something caused that.
You also said the Earth is eternal, which just denies protoplanetary disks, which is really insane. And but presumably that was from English people, so we can just throw that one away. I wonder how Katie feels right now. Katie's probably like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
what did I do? What did I do to you?" Richard's like, "What did I do to you?" But Chuck, is that where you're going, or no? Because one, your whole argument falls apart because there is immense amounts of inductive evidence for protoplanetary disk, which is, the Earth, prior to the Earth. So I'm curious, is it supposed to lead back to God for you? Is that the whole point? Because this is really easily debunked in 2 seconds if it is.
Well, the universe is made up of all these little teeny weeny things, and there's nothing there holding them together. There's no such thing as gravity. And there's no such thing as time.
There's no such thing as gravity.
So you think God sustains all these things into existence? Is that your claim?
Yeah, exactly. Something's got to keep.
Yep. So I have great. So let's compare views. Yeah, let's compare views. You have an extremely complicated view, which is that God is not only sustaining all things in existence, he's like probably concurring with things to make sure that they go the way that they're supposed to go. And you have this agent with intelligence and intentional states like beliefs and desires, like he desires them to stay the way they are. And I have a view. It's called existential inertia. There's a lot of literature and philosophy about it. It's just the idea that things have the persistence on existing unless something forces them out or something causes them to not exist. Now, I have a much simpler thesis that actually follows empirical work without adding this thing that desires to have things all sustained in the universe. So from a theoretical perspective, like my view is way simpler and it explains all the data. It's just the property of that all things have. They go on existing unless they decay or they go out of existence. And you have this thing that has to sustain these things in existence. I have no need for that. You have an extremely complicated view with more entities and kinds of entities, like a divine realm and all this stuff. I don't need all that. I explain all the data. So I win. And also, what caused that thing? Nothing caused that thing. You want to know? It exists of metaphysical necessity, the same way your God has no cause. So I win again. So this is like really easy and dumb, right?
It doesn't mean you win. You don't win by being stupid.
Oh, I totally won.
Chuck, you have to understand, you just called in to tell us that gravity doesn't exist, that atoms are solid objects, which has been debunked since the 1800s, that electrons don't exist, that the Earth is eternal, that all English people lie about science, and then you're going to follow that up by saying you're not right just because you're saying stupid shit. It's because
my dad's British, so he's not going to listen to me.
Either literally everything that we know about all of science is wrong, or you are. Literally, the technology that you are using to call us right now is reliant on atomic theory, is reliant on electron theory, is reliant on electrodynamics, and like all these things you say can't be real. So like, what's more likely? Is literally every single scientist in the whole damn world incorrect about the fundamentals of reality, or do you think maybe you made a mistake?
You're right. They're all wrong. Really, a lot of people call.
And there it is. You're right. They're all wrong. Chuck, I think we're done. Man, it's gotten real boring real fast. Feel free to call back anytime you want to talk about reality. We'll have a great time. I'll draw out how you calculate like Hubble's law, and we'll see where that fucking leads.
Yeah, that's probably the most arrogant caller I've had on the show.
It's wild, dude. We've got, let's see here really quick, because we're way past the time. Even you and I privately said we wanted to stop at. We've got Emery King sent $5. Forrest, you're better than Bill Nye. That's very kind of you. When I worked at CSSC, he came for a talk and was super rude and sexist to all the employees. Don't meet your heroes. That is not the first time I've heard that, and that's really unfortunate.
I've never heard any of that, so that's
it's I don't know, man. I'm never going to say anything negative about him unless I met him in person, but like I've heard some things. Aaron Shepley sent $3.99 all the way from Canada. Emoji, a thumbs up sign, hand gesture with the words top. Cool. Logan Locke sent $10 and a smiley face. Blind Limey sent $5 and said, today's callers have made me feel like my mind is falling apart like a slice of wet cake.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
And
it's
with
hard
that,
getting the words out because of it.